Vijay Nirani, a pioneer who discovered a game changer in the national policy on biofuels. A force capable of empowering communities, creating unprecedented milestones in India's alternate fuel sector with a firm focus on the planet. From the humble town of Mudhol, Karnataka, Nirani embarked on a bold mission to redefine India's energy future. Where others saw waste, he saw a goldmine of possibilities waiting to power a nation. Founded in 2021, TruAlt Bioenergy has emerged as one of India's largest biofuel producers, strategically positioned as a prominent and diversified player in the biofuel industry.
Hello and welcome. I have with me Vijay Murugesh Nirani, MD TruAlt Bioenergy. I'll begin by asking you, when you were starting up TruAlt, what was the gap in the biofuel sector that you wanted to address?
So biofuels in itself is quite new to India, although it's a age-old concept for the larger economies like US, Brazil and countries like them. The larger idea was to build on the quantums of biofuels to be able to cater to the demands in India. India came around and launched a policy called the National Biofuel Policy and multiple sub-policies under them. To name a few, called the Ethanol Blended Petrol Program, the Satat Program, the Blending of Sustainable Aviation Fuel, Green Hydrogen Mission. All of these are essentially biofuels, or rather fuels that are indigenously developed using bio-based substances that are renewable in nature and create a greener ecology and greener economy for us. So TruAlt was, it's a very young company, and we were lucky to have this policy back us, which gave us all the air under our wings to fly high and try and participate across these portfolio of products, right, from ethanol to aviation fuel to compressed biogas.
You're a very young company, as you yourself mentioned, but you are also the largest ethanol producer by installed capacity. What are the unique strategies that catapulted you to this position?
So again, we had a very unique advantage of having multiple sugar complexes.
Right.
We came from a very traditional sugar background, and we decided to hive off the biofuel business into a separate entity and created TruAlt. The principal objective is TruAlt is trying to build biorefineries. Right. We try and consume the similar input, that is the derivatives of agricultural input. It could be agricultural waste, which our country is one of the, we've got the highest potential of agricultural waste available within us. Municipal solid waste or sugarcane derivatives or byproducts like molasses or sugarcane juice or damaged food grains.
Yeah.
All of these otherwise had no value at all.
Yeah.
We're literally trying to create a parallel economy using these absolute waste product and create an atmosphere where India doesn't continue to depend on imports for its energy requirements. What we essentially are trying to do is create an indigenously made fuel that can cater to the consumer's demand and also empower the farmers and the rural economies at large.
Right. Since you mentioned biorefineries, what are your innovations that you are carrying out at the second generation biorefineries that you have?
So in a sense, the principal difference between your first generation and second gen is essentially second gen deals with consuming feedstocks that absolutely come from waste material. Like I just mentioned, municipal solid waste or agricultural residue or biomass per se. So second generation is essentially where we take stubble like those that are not good for anything else than burning. We take them and make products like ethanol. We make products like compressed biogas. What we are interested in in atoms of carbons and hydrogens. All these inputs, be it anything that is decomposable by large, has carbons and hydrogens in them, rather carbohydrates in them.
Right.
We are interested to harness the carbohydrates and make molecules that are essentially called ethanol, butanol, ethylene, sustainable aviation fuel, malolactonic acid, polylactic acid and things like those.
Right. You've seen phenomenal scaling of your company. You've achieved that. What were some of the challenges that you faced? Because this is really scaling at massive space.
Every story has challenges, but at least we haven't had to see a lot of difficult times. And because government is superb in its drive to create this policy and implement what they have as strategy. Of course, we did see a temporary halt in policy back in December 2023. There were assumptions that we were going through an El Nino impact,
Right.
and a severe drought was to fall in our country. And the thoughts of the policymakers were that there could be some, less of production of agricultural inputs. Of course, it wasn't the case. I would say the challenge, rather, I would say the strength that the policy halt gave us, right? I wouldn't call it a challenge. The opportunity that it gave us is to try and become flexible within our own infrastructure to consume multiple different kinds of feedstocks, right? The policy earlier asked us not to consume sugarcane juice, so we now are in a position to consume different kinds of feedstock. So all of this will give us ample gunpowder to be able to overcome any policy hiccups like this.
Right. So how is TruAlt in its strategy of scaling aligning itself with the government's target of 20% ethanol blending by 2025? This is the year.
So again, we must give tremendous applause to the government, the policymakers. This was actually, just to interest you, right? This was a policy or a target that they had taken for 2030.
Right.
They preponed it to 2025, and they're all set to achieve it in January of 2025.
Absolutely.
This just gives to show that young companies like TruAlt and the country at large we've got potential to do magic. And preponing by almost achieving it half time what they had plans, it only shows the opportunity that India is creating and the potentials that the corporates in our country have.
Right.
As of TruAlt, we will end up having an installed capacity with our intended growth that potentially could cater to close to 8 to 9% of the country's net demand. Right? And for a sector that's fragmented like the ethanol industry, it's quite scalable.
Right.
And going forward, not just with ethanol, of course, with compressed biogas as well, we have the opportunity to be one of the larger players in that space and try and be an active participant of the Satat scheme.
Right. You know what is unique to most young companies of our country today is the way all of you use big technology. So how have you integrated big tech when it comes to increasing efficiency in TruAlt or pushing innovation in TruAlt?
Most of the tech that we're using in terms of hardware is all new age tech, right? And of course, the larger tech is improved to an extent where everything, all the businesses run on your direct control systems. That aside, when we are trying to make wealth, using municipal solid waste, or when we're trying to make wealth from industrial waste, that's your effluent, or when we're trying to make wealth from biomass, that is the leftover of a agricultural input, this absolutely is a very exciting technology in itself. Right? We literally are creating value from absolute waste. And this is something, even in spite of us being to an extent as efficient as possible, which I very strongly believe that we can still have the potential to harness most of the carbons and hydrogens in the days to come. I'll just give you one technology that we are reading about, right? Very proud that very close to us is Indian Institute of Science. And these guys have been pioneers since centuries now in terms of new tech. What blew my mind, I was reading a paper that they had published, is called oxy-steam gasification technology.
Okay.
They take biomass and yield green hydrogen that could be 1/3 the cost of your green hydrogen coming from electrolyzers.
Yeah, right.
My God, 1/3 the cost
1/3.
of electrolyzers. You're not
Game
even
changer.
consuming water. You're not even consuming, the other valuable resources. So this is what the biofuel story is trying to create. And technology is really exciting.
Break down your expansion plans for us. 1 year, 3 years and 5 years.
I am really not sure if we are able to share all of that with you
Right.
in the current structure, but of course, we are geared up to have certain joint ventures in place that could catapult us to achieving one of the biggest aviation fuel plants across the world.
Yeah.
We are set to set up close to a few compressed biogas plants, and we've got strategic partnerships with central public sector undertakings, including Gas Authority of India,
Right.
which is a public announcement that's already made. In the bioethanol space, in the 1G as well as in the 2G, we've got certain plans for growth in the days to come. We're still studying the technology and trying to make the infrastructure better available. I would say biofuels holds a very, very futuristic opportunity, not just for TruAlt, but for the country at large.
Of course.
And I'll go to a step ahead and say even to mankind at large, right? We don't want more of carbon. Every degree of temperature that raises,
Right.
especially to a country like India, which sits right on the equator, right?
Yes.
And we will be the most affected. So we will really have to be very, very cautious about the way we consume energy and how we lead a very sustainable consumption for all that we need.
At this point, we'll delve a little bit into your subsidiary, which is Lifinity Bioenergy. How is that contributing to the government's sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation as an initiative?
Again, Satat was a phenomenal program from the Ministry of Petroleum. They actually wanted to produce more of this biogas. And to tell you, it's such a simple, such a small technology, right? It's something taking us back to your 5th, 6th standard in your school.
Right.
You remember the gobar gas plants
Yes.
that you had, right?
Yes.
It's literally that. And what we are trying to do through Lifinity is consume all these biomass. In our case, we have something called sugarcane press mud. So whenever you let sugarcane juice sediment, you get the press mud, right?
Yeah.
So we use that as feedstock, agricultural waste, and also spent waste that comes as waste from producing ethanol. Understanding on that, we are now trying to build close to 7 more similar plants within the next 1 to 1.5 years. This is again, as I mentioned, under a joint venture with GAIL.
Okay.
So Lifinity is set to become a larger company thanks to the support of the CPSUs and of course the Satat policy.
Beyond ethanol, its byproducts and CBG, what are the other renewable energy or bio-based product lines that TruAlt is exploring to diversify its portfolio?
You know, the world actually is transitioning into a bioeconomic, we're going through a bioeconomic transition now.
Right.
Just very interesting is, up until 1700s, the world burned wood for its energy requirement. Then in the 1800s, we transitioned to burning coal for our energy requirement. Then we shifted to, we found crude and we started burning crude for our energy needs. Then in the 2000s, the world started transitioning into harnessing solar and wind, and renewables was one of the biggest opportunities. Now, biofuels or bioenergy or bioeconomy is so large, not just for our energy requirements, right? The same carbohydrates or the elements of carbons and hydrogens can go beyond ethanol or SAF or green hydrogen or all of these. It can also make something called as malolactonic acid, which becomes raw material to make isoprenes.
Right.
Isoprenes is nothing but, your bio rubber, right? It goes wherever rubber is applied, right? From your car tires to wherever rubber is used. We can actually make it using bio-based substances that are biodegradable as well.
Okay.
It's supremely exciting.
Yeah.
Incremental to that, the biggest challenge that we have is plastics, right? It's the biggest harmful, it's
Element
one of the
there,
biggest criminals of the climate change now. We can also make something called as polylactic acid, and one of our peer entities is doing that. So polylactic acid becomes your substitute to your single-use plastics. And very interesting fact of PLA or polylactic acid is that it actually decomposes after you use it within 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
That's a phenomenal opportunity. And what right across after biofuels are these sustainable means of livelihood where we try and use all the side or byproducts of the value chain and create a more sustainable life chain or consumption for a human requirement in itself.
Tell us about your foray and also how is your role as the co-chair of the India Alliance on SAF actually shaping TruAlt's foray into it?
SAF, again, it's a very, very exciting
Right.
opportunity for us and for the globe. unlike other means of transport, be it roadways, railways, or your shipping industry, you have opportunities to fit in batteries, convert them into EVs or hybrids, or put maybe ammonia into ships and make it a sustainable means of transport, right? Unlike in your aviation industry, you can't do that.
Right.
At least for the 30,000 plus aircrafts that are flying across the globe as of date, and probably another 10,000 aircrafts that are set to join the fleet of planes flying across the world, taking the count to close to 40,000 aircrafts. All you can do to reduce the carbon emissions from these aviation industry or from these 40,000 aircrafts is use sustainable aviation fuel in them. And close to 65 to 70% of the emissions of the aviation industry comes from burning of fuel.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a very big opportunity, and bodies like Corsia have already given mandates for the developed countries and the developing countries to start consuming SAF into the air turbine fuel mix. So TruAlt is set to, since ethanol becomes the raw material for making ethylene and then into aviation fuel, the current engines can take up to 50% of blend levels of the fuels that we end up making in our biorefineries.
Right.
It's a tremendous opportunity. Whatever fuel that a plane burns from flying from probably Bangalore to say New York from the next time, it is coming from a farmer, and that flight is going to help farmer build his lifestyle.
Right.
Right?
I'll come to the next question with that. You've been talking about how biofuel is the revolution that is taking over the world. In what way is TruAlt actually building a circular economy, boosting rural India?
What really drives us is that what we really take in, if I have to give you a life cycle of the input that we principally take, right? A farmer grows a ton of sugarcane. That sugarcane comes into our sugar mills. They harness the sugarcane, they make sugar out of it, and they get 2-3 byproducts, one called press mud, one called bagasse, one called molasses. The molasses goes into the ethanol plant, and ethanol is made out of it. Now the bagasse comes either into the sugar plant or the compressed biogas plant, or it goes into the 2G ethanol plant where we make again second generation ethanol from it.
Right.
Now press mud comes from the sugarcane into the compressed biogas plant, wherein we make methane from it and sell it as vehicular fuel. Now residual waste after making methane, the waste that is left out in the digester, we process it, make it into a fertilizer and give it back to the farmer so that he can grow the sugarcane back.
Right.
Now the energy that comes out, be it ethanol, be it compressed biogas, we are making our farmers' tractors convert into dual feed, where they can consume either methane or they can consume diesel.
Yeah.
And to ease out the consumption or cost for his automation, that's tractors, right? Where his life gets eased out. One, he ends up making additional revenue for the products that he sells. Two, he ends up saving on his cost on his production of crops.
Yeah.
Now what this essentially did, I'll just give you numbers. Just on 20% blending of ethanol with petrol, India could literally substitute import of close to 1,42,000 metric tons of crude in the last year alone.
Of course.
That resulted in an import bill, saving on import bill of close to 1,15,000 crores. And typically 60 to 70% of it becomes my cost of raw material, which is coming from the farmer.
Exactly.
So out of that 1,15,000 crores, close to 65 to 70,000 crores of capital went to the farmer as additional income.
Of course.
So what this does to a rural economy is it helps put additional money into the pockets of the farmers, and the farmer ends up gaining a buying power. And this is what the biofuels is really achieving. We are addressing the excess against what we don't have. It's just mapping what we don't have with what we have with large abundance.
Truly inspiring. My last question to you is, what are the pillars that are crucial to TruAlt aligning itself with the government's net zero target of 2070?
Oh, we are a baby born out of the policy of the government's net zero policy, right? Of course, national biofuel policy becoming the backbone of our the tailwinds that we have. Now, the policies like Satat, policies like EBP, policies like PM G1 Yojana, Jaivik Indhan Yojana, or Bharat, Biomass to Hydrogen Mission of India. It's called, very interesting name called Bharat. And then of course, the Panchamrit policy that the government of India has. All of these, in essence, are what are key pillars or philosophies are, right? We're literally taking in the products that the government wants to harness, and we're literally creating products that the government wants to make more and make more of indigenously produced. And we're literally trying to substitute the larger imports of crude or petroleum products that is the biggest cost to our forex.
Right.
What we essentially do, just taking a step ahead, is India as a country is one of the largest paymasters to agricultural inputs.
Yes.
There is no other country that even comes close to how good of a MSP that we give to our farmers. Of course, it's a different story that our per capita land holding is too less for the
Yeah.
farmers. It doesn't make economic sense as compared to other places. And again, on the other side, India spends the most for import of crude for its energy demand.
Yes.
We buy expensive and we sell cheap.
Right.
We buy from the farmers expensive
Yes.
and we sell to the world, or we export the food grains at the cheaper price.
Yeah.
So we get impacted on our forex two times, one to buy, one to sell.
Yeah.
So government came around and said, let's simply consume what we have in excess and substitute what we don't have, whatever is more expensive. And what we literally are is completely aligned to this strategy of the government, of the National Biofuel Policy and the Panchamrit policy, or rather the Atmanirbharta policy, or rather the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where we create wealth from waste. And also, going a step ahead is creating the net zero impact by 2070. If you ask me, we could probably end up achieving that by 2047, considering how we achieved the EBP program half time of what the intended goal was.
Right. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Vijay. Thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you so much.